Welcome back, Shark Kings, to another episode where we try to predict what games are going to leave next month. This episode will cover the games that are going to be leaving in March, or likely to be leaving, because this is a prediction video after all. But we did one for January, and we did one for February, and we've been surprisingly pretty accurate so far. Why are we accurate? Well, it's because I'm not just making these predictions out of thin air. We're actually visiting what games came to March in the previous years, because most games have either a 12-month or a 24-month contract. So in this video, we're looking at what games came to Extra in March of last year, 2024. And we're also going to go back and see what games came to PlayStation Plus Extra in March of 2023, 2 years ago. So as I browse through these, you might see some games that are gone and you might see some games that are still here. And this is the danger zone here. These games might be leaving. So if you just wanted to know the title of the games and be on your way, here they are for you so you don't have to watch the entire video. If these are in your backlog, then play them right away. Even if they don't leave, you should probably get working on them. But as a trade, leave a like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, because I'm giving you something and not forcing you to watch the whole video, so you better appreciate it. Now, if you want to stick around for the video, we're going to go into what these games are. We're going to dive deep and actually see what these games look like. We're also going to go over how long it takes to beat these games, if they're short games or long games, and also what their Metacritic ratings were. And right before you leave, these games came out 6 months ago. Now, sometimes PS Extra has 6-month contracts, so I'm just going to scroll through these really fast if you're only here for the first minute or two. All right, so if you see the game that you wanted to play, you better get on it. Now let's get to the meat of the pie. Now, before we start and talk about Resident Evil 3, there's something we need to talk about. If you go to the game catalog and sort it alphabetically, and go all the way down to R, you'll see Resident Evil 3 doesn't show up here for some reason. There's Res, Return, Returnal, Rezo Gun, Red Out, but no Resident Evil 3. Is this game even on here? Well, there's this weird glitch. For some reason, it's not under R. You have to scroll up. For whatever reason, Resident Evil 3 shows up under F because it says for PS Plus Resident Evil 3. So if you're having a hard time finding Resident Evil 3, it's between Forager and Forspoken for some reason. So you can go here and you should be able to download it right here. So click that and you're good to go. You can either get the PS4 version or the PS5 version if you have it. The PS5 version is 3 gigabytes smaller. So let's download that right now. So if this process of scrolling through the catalog to find your game is taking too long, you can always back out. So once you back out all the way here, you can go right to the search function. Over here in the search function, we can see our game right away. Less scrolling involved. And you don't have to worry about it starting with F for whatever reason. You click on it here and it says Resident Evil 3. Instead of 4 PS Plus Resident Evil 3. Now, back in January, Resident Evil 2 left. So this one is probably 100% going to go. This arrived 2 months later, and it shall leave 2 months later. The other big series that left in January was the Life is Strange games. Now, we lost Life is Strange 1 and Life is Strange Before the Storm. Wait a minute, there's also a Dragon Ball game here too. And a Street Fighter game. This is on top of the Resident Evil game too. Wow, this month is January 2.0. 2 months later, these are going to go. Life is Strange True Colors and also Life is Strange 2. Also, we're likely to lose Untitled Goose Game, which is a hoot. So if you were following along in these prediction videos, then you already played and beat Resident Evil 2 in January. So it shouldn't take too much convincing to play Resident Evil 3 next month. The graphics are stunning, and this one has a performance mode as well. Now, it's worth noting that it's not the strongest in the series. So Resident Evil 2 had a 91, Resident Evil 4 has a 93, but Resident Evil 3 has only a 79. And when we go to how long to beat, we can see that this is truly a short game. While Resident Evil 2 took 9 hours to beat if you knew where everything was and ignored all the extra stuff, Resident Evil 3 only takes 6 hours. And look at this, main and extra is only 7.5 hours compared to 15. So it's like half the size of the game of this one. So even though it's not as strong as the second one, I think it's still going to be worth playing. Let's see what PlayStation has to say about it. Relive the horrifying downfall of Raccoon City in a stunning reimagining of the 1999 survival horror classic. So this is the nightmarish hours leading up to and following the events of Resident Evil 2. Interesting. So this is like a before and after Resident Evil 2. It's a prequel and a sequel? Is that what they're trying to say? Only you can help surviving Officer Jill Valentine escape a city beset by gruesome viral outbreak. Was she in the second one? I remember reading some files and things that were left around, but I'm not sure if she showed up. You guys let me know. Did Jill Valentine show up in Resident Evil 2? I don't think she did, but I remember reading something from her. The towering, near indestructible bioweapon nemesis T-Type is also on the hunt. I heard he's not as fun as the boss from Resident Evil 2, and he shows up like in a broken manner, which makes it a lot less fun, where at least the boss from Resident Evil 2, you could kind of outsmart him and trick him and make him walk a certain way. I heard in this one, the boss just appears and it makes the plot not very fun. This brutal monstrosity uses an arsenal of high-powered weaponry to relentlessly pursue you across Raccoon City, meaning nowhere is truly safe. Well, you saw that I just downloaded it, so I'm definitely gonna be playing it. But how about you? Let's see how it did according to users. From a couple of videos I did, I know you guys don't trust Metacritic that much. Okay, so let's go see what the user reviews are saying. So for Resident Evil 2, we have 91 Metacritic and 8.9 for user score. For Resident Evil 3, we have 79 Metacritic and a 6.7 for user scores. That's not good. That's pretty unanimous that this game is half as good as Resident Evil 2. Now I'm kind of starting to worry. We know it's half the size, so it's not as long, but half the quality too? I don't know. You let me know. Are you going to play this one? So to follow the same formula as January, we're going to skip to the next big franchise. And for that, we have to go back 2 years to March of 2023. That's right, it's the Life is Strange series. And we have 2 games from that series. One is Life is Strange True Colors, and the other one is Life is Strange 2. If you only have time for one, I would recommend go for Life is Strange True Colors. It takes about 10 hours to beat and 13 hours to platinum. It has a much better rating, and people didn't really like Life is Strange 2 as much as they liked the first one. Or this one, which is I think the third one. This one's about a girl who moves to a small mountain town to be closer with her brother. But tragedy falls, her brother dies, and then she tries to discover who he was to all the friends he made while living in this town. Also, maybe she's discovering if there was foul play involved. Now, the Life is Strange series usually has some sort of superpower attached to it. Her superpower is basically to see and feel other people's emotions. So it's a weird mix of Mantis from Marvel and also the Inside Out movies. Let's go to Metacritic to see what people had to say about it. So as you can see, Life is Strange 1 is the highest scoring one of all time with a score of 85. Life is Strange 2 Colors, it's the second highest one with 81. And then Life is Strange 2 has a score of 78, which actually beats Life is Strange Before the Storm, which had a score of 77. Now, this one wasn't as good as the first one, but it still wasn't that bad. So if number 2 is better than Before the Storm, then it's probably worth a try. But if you only have time for one, I'd probably recommend going for the strongest one here. But that's just according to Metacritic ratings. Let's see what the user score had to say. Okay, the user scores are not looking that good. Although this has a score of 81, the user score is only 6.9. Compared to Life is Strange 2, the critic score is 78 with a user score of 6.7. Now, this is a huge fall back from the series beginning. So the first Life is Strange had a critic rating of 85, and the user score was actually better than the critic score with an 8.6. But chances are, if you like the Life is Strange series, you're probably going to give these a try. Since these 3 games are not related to each other, you can play them in any order and you won't really miss anything. Now, Life is Strange 1 and Life is Strange Before the Storm, that was a direct prequel, literally before the storm. The storm is Life is Strange 1. But these 2 games, it's different characters and different cities and different powers. They are not related at all. So don't feel so bad if you want to play True Colors before Life is Strange 2. Overall, it looks like a charming game with an interesting story, with deep characters, emotions, and great storytelling as usual. The gameplay usually is pretty basic, but that's not why we play Life is Strange games. Now, before I move on from the Life is Strange series, I did skip over the story of Life is Strange 2. So let's do that real quick. Life is Strange 2 is about 2 brothers brothers, one obviously older than the other, and through trying to protect each other, a tragic accident happens, and long story short, they have to run from the law. The police is chasing them, and the boys are trying to flee to Mexico. What makes this interesting is the little boy has telekinesis powers. He can move things with his mind. I've only played the first hour or so I can't really say too much about it, except that it didn't hook me in as much as Life is Strange 1 did. And I played this like 2 years before I played Life is Strange 1, and Life is Strange 1 hooked me right away. So if you are following the same pattern as January, the top of the list is going to be Resident Evil and Life is Strange games. Life is Strange 2 will take you 16 to 20 hours to beat, making it the longest Life is Strange game. Now we can move on. Let's go back to the PlayStation blog from March of last year, 2024. Now that we've covered the two big franchises, let's go through the games one by one to see what the status is of each game. So for March of 2024, let's go to the big ones here. The first one was NBA 2K24. Yeah, that one is definitely gone. I don't even remember that being there. But then again, I kind of skip over sports games. The next one, this one I tried. 6-month contract, really annoying. Marvel's Midnight Sun. This game left, I think, like in September or something. It's already gone. This one we just talked about, definitely leaving in March. So last chance to play. This one is a strange one. I don't know. Because Lego games didn't leave last month or the month before that. I feel like Lego games stick around for a lot longer. And this one specifically, Lego DC Villains, was a monthly essential game a few years ago. So I don't know. I don't think that one's leaving either. This one's interesting. Mystic Pillars. This one's a really short puzzler, and it's basically just a bunch of puzzles that use addition. So if you like adding, math, an Indian story, and a short runtime, this might be up your alley. It introduces a concept early on and then sticks through it the entire game. This would be great as a mobile game. It's good, mindless fun. It only takes about 3 hours, so if you don't like it, just don't play it. It has a Metacritic score of 74 and a user score of 6.0. All right, Blood Bowl. Okay, this one could be a contender. Blood Bowl 3 came to PS Plus Extra a year ago. So I'm going to add this to the list. Blood Bowl 3 is probably leaving next month. All right, after looking up Blood Bowl 3, according to Metacritic, oh my God. Okay, it has a critic rating of 60 and a user score of 1.8. I have never in my life seen a score that low. So, yeah, this game might leave, but does anyone care? That's so bad. But you know what? I'm going to say these user reviews are not legit, because every time I see a discrepancy like this, it only means one thing. Blood Bowl has a passionate fan base. And for whatever reason, its passionate fan base weren't happy with the changes going from Blood Bowl 2 to Blood Bowl 3. I'm just going to take a wild guess and say there were microtransactions. And the game at launch doesn't look like the game that you're going to play right now. Blood Bowl 3 on how long to beat says main story 15.5 hours. That's not a good sign when the background is red. I feel like I shouldn't talk about this game too much because it'll be just a waste of my time. Moving on from the best game of all time according to critic scores, Blood Bowl 3, the next one is Super NEPTUNIA RPG. Now, I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark and assume that this is a JRPG. Side-scrolling action RPG set in a meta world where gorgeous 2D rules supreme. All right, let's look it up. Metacritic. All right, another winner apparently. Oh my God, why are these games so bad? Okay, Super NEPTUNIA RPG has a score of 60 according to critics and a user score of 3.8. If I saw this before Blood Bowl, I would say that this is one of the lowest games I've ever seen, but Blood Bowl 3 really set the standards here. The bar is on the floor. Okay, back to the list. Ooh, okay, we have Dragon Ball Z, Kakarot. Let's check out, I think this one has a good rating. Oh, it's not the Fighters, damn. I thought it was Dragon Ball Fighters for a second. So that one has a really good rating, 87. But Dragon Ball Z Kakarot has a score of 73. But look at this. User score 8.0. So users actually like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Doesn't look that bad. If you're into the Dragon Ball Z franchise, then I think you're going to love this game. This is quite a long game, probably the longest on the list, so you better get started on it if you're interested in this one. I'm going to put this game on hold for a second because something very interesting is happening with it. All right, we'll get back to Dragon Ball Z later. So after that, it's a PlayStation Classics, which we will skip because this channel focuses on Extra, PS Plus Extra only. So let's go back to March of 2023, 2 years ago. So these contracts could have been 24-month contracts instead of 12-month contracts. Let's see. Oh no, this one is a tough call. I don't know if I can make this prediction. So Uncharted is a Sony game, PlayStation Studios game, Naughty Dog, I believe. Highly recommended. Obviously, play this if you haven't already. Great game. Or should I say games? Because this is actually 2 games in one. It's Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, and The Lost Legacy, which is like its own game. It kind of feels like a DLC, but it's 2 side characters from the main games, and they have their own story and their own little boss and their own little adventure. It takes place in India mainly. It even has an open world section in the very beginning of the game, which is kind of rare for an Uncharted series. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but this is why I can't make this call. This is a Sony game, and usually Sony games stick around. That was the rule for a long time, but recently we had Spider-Man leave. That was the big one. Like, what? You are taking away Spider-Man? And then what happened last year? Horizon Forbidden West. Both games gone. What's going on? I thought Sony titles were safe. They better not remove Returnal anytime soon. I'll be mad. So this one I'm going to say a big maybe. If this actually leaves next month, it's going to be big new, because Uncharted is like Sony's boy, you know, as much as Spider-Man is. I would say Spider-Man is Sony's boy and Uncharted is PlayStation's boy. I'd be really upset if that leaves. All right, the next game that came out in 2023 March was Tchia. I love this game. Actually, if you go back, if you are one of the original stands of this channel, my first videos on this channel were Tchia tutorials. I loved this game and it inspired me to make this channel. So you can thank Tchia for that. I wish it was still around. Highly recommend game, but since it's gone, I can't really talk about it. Let's move on. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction. This is also another tough call. I don't know if this is leaving, because this is in the same realm as Siege, and I can't see Siege leaving. Did Siege leave? I don't think it left. You can't take away Siege. It's like you need that player base. Any of these games that are like, what are they called? Live service models? I can't see them taking that away, because like that's free money for them. A lot of these single player games like Uncharted and other ones that are not Sony, I could understand people are not playing them and you don't want them in the service forever. But these games, you're giving more people access to like a moneymaker. So I don't know. I don't think that one's going to go. Let's go to the next one. Ghostwire Tokyo. This was a very beautiful game, like a great graphics, like the best rendition of Tokyo. I wish we could have a Yakuza game with this engine in this city. That would be so epic. But Ghostwire Tokyo left extra like a long time ago. The good news is Ghostwire Tokyo came back to Essential. It came back as a monthly game a few months ago. So we don't have to worry about this one. Life is Strange True Colors. I just talked about this one, so we can move on. The next one on the list is Immortals Fenyx Rising. Now, although this is a Ubisoft game, people have been saying that this doesn't have the typical Ubisoft formula, at least not to the same extent. But again, because this is a Ubisoft game, it has separate rules. Like literally Ubisoft games don't show up where the game catalog is, and they show up in their own little separate section, which is really weird. But because of that, I feel like these games, they have an entirely different contract. They have like a Ubisoft contract versus like a per game contract. This is just my assumptions, by the way. All right, the next game on the list, Life is Strange 2. We just talked about it, so we're gonna move forward. Now here's where it's gonna get interesting. Oh, a Dragon Ball Z game. Okay, what is it gonna be? Oh look, it's Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Wait a minute. Did we just see this one? So the funny thing is, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot came to PlayStation Plus Extra in March of 2023. But if we go to March of 2024, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot came again a year later. But we still have both of them. Why is that confusing? Well, the one that came in 2024 is the PS5 version. The PS4 version is already available on PlayStation Plus game catalog. Look, they added a note. That's kind of funny, isn't it? So both of these games are still on the service. And I feel like both of these games are going to leave at the same time. So I'm going to add this to the list. Let's add Dragon Ball Z Kakarot to the list. I don't know if it's the PS4 version, the PS5 version, or both versions will leave, but one of them will leave. After Dragon Balls, we got another fighting game. It's a Street Fighter Champion Edition. I'm pretty sure Street Fighter V already left, but the Champion Edition edition was still there. So if it hasn't left, it's going to leave next month. So if you're into Street Fighter 5 and you can still find it, I don't know, beat it, I guess. Do you even beat a fighting game? All right, the next game on the list is very silly, and it was in my last video. I highly recommend you play this game. It has a very short runtime. It is the Untitled Goose Game. Let's go look at the rating. People love this game. Untitled Goose Game has a Metascore of 81 and a user score of 7.7. People love this game. It is fun. It is silly. Like, what more could you ask for? I know what you can ask for. A short runtime. This is like peak content for my channel. And if you're new to this channel, my channel loves short games and games that have a high Metacritic and user score ratings. So this one, probably gonna leave. Let's add it to the list just to make you guys play it if you haven't played it already. So Untitled Goose Game, highly recommend it. It's really fun, really silly. You get to do a lot of hijinks. And best part is it has a co-op mode. And again, if you haven't seen the last video, go watch it right now. These are like peak games to play with your girlfriend or partner or even kids because they're really simple and they're really wholesome games. Let's go back to 2023. So then we have Final Fantasy Type 0 HD, or is it Type O? Is that an O or 0? I think it's an O, Type O, like typo negative. Final Fantasy Type O HD, the darkest entry in the series. But I think this is one of the lowest scoring Final Fantasy games. So even if you're not a big fan of Final Fantasy, you know they have some bangers. Look at these scores: 87, 87, 92, 78, 89, 90. You'll have to go through the entire page to see just the couple of bad games that they have. Even bad is kind of like objective. It's one of the only games that's colored yellow on Metacritic. Let's see what the users thought of it. So it has a Metacritic rating of 72 and a user score of 6.8. That seems really low for a Final Fantasy game. So again, I'm just going to click on a random one just to see, like, people love Final Fantasy. Look at this, 9.0. Look at these, 8.4, 8.2. Like, anyway, let's go back. Is this going to leave? I don't know. Probably. I'm going to say probably. So Final Fantasy typo negative, we're going. The next game on the list is Rage 2. Oh boy, another winner. Rage 2 has a score of 7.3 with a user score of 5.6. Do I spend time talking about it? I don't know. It doesn't look that bad. It has like a Borderlands feeling, but with more over-the-top violence and swearing. If you're a fan of first-person shooters, maybe it's up your alley. All right, and now we have Neo, The World Ends With You. I believe this game has already left PS Plus Extra, so we can stop talking about it. And the last one is Haven, which also, I didn't get to play it. I'm kind of mad I didn't get to play it, but it also left. So the games that have left already are Haven, Neo, Ghostwire Tokyo, and Tchia. So these games from 2 years ago have already left. And from last year, the first two games already left, and that was NBA 2K24 and Marvel's Midnight Suns. So to wrap up the video, the games that are probably leaving in March of 2025 are, from last year, Resident Evil 3, Mystic Pillars, Blood Bowl 3, Super Neptunia RPG, and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. And the games from 2 years ago that are likely leaving are, I hope not, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Edition. And I don't think Rainbow Six Extraction is leaving either because Siege didn't leave. But for sure, Life is Strange True Colors and Life is Strange 2. Street Fighter 5 Champions Edition, Final Fantasy Type 0, Rage 2, and Untitled Goose Game. These classic games are for premium members for 2024 and 2023. Thanks for watching another prediction video. Sorry this episode was so long, but I hope you enjoyed the extra few days I gave you. Normally I try to get this video out 10 days before the official announcement, but today you're getting a full 2 weeks. So get out of here and go download some games. I've taken enough of your time. So until next time, be a friend and I'll see you again.